and that time governs your progress. And this is wonderful. All right, let us continue into section 3, Atonement and Miracles.
Larger temporal sequence. Say something about that.
Oh, that's okay. Someone has asked me to comment on, quote, the larger temporal sequence, unquote. You know what that simply means? That the miracle occurs within your present frame of reference. In other words, love meets the human need. It meets you right where you are. While you still believe you are not awake, while you still believe you are a body, it meets you right where you are, without frightening you to death by your having an experience of such radical transformation that it would be nonsensical to you. And so, you seem to have experiences of collapsed time within a still ongoing experience of time. But as I said, that in itself begins to weaken your faith in time, your commitment to it, and your bondage to it. And in that weakening of the apparent validity of time, you will arrive at a point where time will cease and everything will still make sense to you. So it does it within the larger temporal sequence because that's the only way your return to sanity can happen without increasing your insanity, because great fear has been brought into play. And so it is a kindness. Okay. Continue.
I am in charge of the process of atonement, which I undertook to begin. When you offer a miracle to any of my brothers, you do it to yourself and me. The reason you come before me is that I do not need miracles for my own atonement, but I stand at the end in case you fail temporarily. My part in the atonement is the canceling out of all errors that you could not otherwise correct.
And it's simply that as an older brother, you might say, someone who has been down the road already, I can see the pitfalls that you cannot see, and because I care, and because I am devoted to you, I will point out the pitfalls that you can't see before you fall into them, so that now you will be able to recognize them and point them out to another brother whom you have become devoted to and are willing to mentor.
Just for a point of clarity, when we speak of errors here, we're not talking like I put in the drainage system wrong, or I made a bad investment in the stock market. We're talking about the
errors of perception.
The error of not being miracle ready.
That is one of them, yes.
Is that what that? So in other words, if temporarily I'm not miracle ready, then you step in, and that's the kind of errors that we're talking about. Correct? Okay.
That is correct.
For some reason this evening, I'm able to perceive my ego's interpretation of what you're saying, and yet see the other meaning as well. And so that's why I'm commenting, and also for reaffirmation as well.
Indeed. Yes.
Well, you say you can help us because you walked the road before. But that was 2,000 years ago, and the world's a lot different since then.
Oh, it isn't the world. It isn't the world, it's the mind. And the mind is the same. The ego frame of reference is the same today as it was yesterday, as it was 2,000 years ago, and the way out of the ego frame of reference will always be the same. Today, the ego has high-tech means of screwing you out of your birthright that it didn't have 2,000 years ago. But it's still the same mental error. It's still the same mental aberration. Let us say that 100 years ago, you wanted to scam your brother, who you live in Europe, and your brother has moved to the States and has become wealthy, and you want to scam him for some of his money. Well, you must sit down and write a letter, and you must post it, and it must go on a ship to the Americas, and it must reach its destination perhaps 2 months later. You must wait for your brother to respond. It'll take another 2 months to come back. Today, you can accomplish the same scam in perhaps an hour over the internet. But the process of scamming is identical to what it was. The dynamic of scamming is identical today to what it was 100 years ago or 2,000 years ago. You see, the one thing that can't change is mind with a capital M. And therefore, in the human condition, the one thing that can't change is mind with a small m. And awakening is the undoing of the mind with a small m, the ego. You get the picture. Okay.
When you have been restored to the recognition of your original state, you naturally become part of the atonement yourself. As you share my unwillingness to accept error in yourself and others, you must join the great crusade to correct it. Listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and act to correct it. The power to work miracles belongs to you. I will provide the opportunities to do them, but you must be ready and willing.
And I'm going to interrupt here. Let us say a situation is occurring which requires correction. And there are two of you present who are asking God, what is appropriate here? In other words, the two are willing to listen to my voice, willing to learn to undo the error, and willing to act to correct it. And one of them finds that the action to correct it involves extensive one-on-one communication with a brother, taking hours of time. And the other, having listened and having been willing to learn what was appropriate and is willing to act, finds that it is not appropriate to be involved in that way. That can seem to be confusing if one is looking for consistency, that in other words, this kind of a situation calls for this kind of appropriate response. But the one who's being still may be holding a tone that makes it easier for the one engaged in the ongoing interaction to be successful. We're not talking about coming to an awareness of a correct action that will always be that action, or will even be that action for another one involved at the same time in the same circumstance. The only other thing I want to say at this point is that your devotion to your brother or sister, your willingness to have an object of your affection, doesn't just involve a willingness to let love through and to become imbued yourself with a clearer experience of your brother's divinity. It does involve what I called mentoring. It does mean involvement. It does mean being willing to act in terms of witnessing for your brother or witnessing for your sister. Witnessing on your brother's behalf may mean speaking up and disagreeing vehemently with actions he's engaged in that are governed by his own limited perception and misunderstanding of what the truth is. It may involve not arguing with him about what he's doing wrong, but instead talking about what is true, what is right, what will work, rather than focusing on what isn't working. But mentoring means being involved in a way that has a beneficial outcome. It is not about sitting there and bathing him or her in your beneficent love without involvement. I want all of you to let the word mentor and mentoring stay with you during this coming week. All of you would love to have a mentor. Why are you here tonight? Extend that to your brother. Be willing to look at your brother this coming week. with a concept of yourself as a potential mentor rather than a harried housewife or a tired mother or a busy businesswoman who's got to stay aware of brass tacks and not mess around with any nonsense. Remember that every encounter you have can be a mentoring encounter. And then try and embody that to the best of your ability. And remember that mentoring does not mean enabling your brother to not be disturbed because you're behaving outside of his concept of what's right. That's not mentoring. Continue.
Doing them will bring conviction in the ability, because conviction comes through accomplishment.
Them being miracles.
Yes.
Continue.
The ability is the potential. The ability is the potential. The achievement is its expression.
I'm sorry, would you go back to doing them?
Doing them will bring conviction in the ability, because conviction comes through accomplishment. The ability is the potential. The achievement is its expression. And the atonement, which is the natural profession of the children of God, is the purpose.
I want you to look at the word profession as expression. What is atonement? It is the expression of forgiveness. And what that means is that atonement is the expression of love expressing the truth that is absent all judgment. Do not look at the word there. Do not look at the word profession there as an activity. Oh, what profession are you in? Oh, I'm into atonement. You want to know what atonement is? It's what's embodied in the words praising God. And when you look at your brother or sister, acknowledging the truth of them that's been revealed to you, you're praising God. And there is no judgment present, no criticism, no ego ploys. You are glorifying God. That's what atonement is. That's what a mentor does, as I'm using the word tonight. A mentor glorifies God where someone else is seeing something less than God where he is. A mentor inspires new vision, new self-awareness. A mentor inspires the experience of innocence where it seemed that innocence had been lost forever. The ability to work miracles is the potential of one who is willing to approach his brother consciously from a mentoring place. The achievement of the miracle is its expression, and the atonement is the purpose. Because you know what? When you succeed in glorifying God where it seemed that God was absent, the one in that place where it seemed that God was absent cannot help but glorify God Himself and extend the glorification of God further. And another domino falls. This is where we will end for tonight. This is all good news.
Mentoring is another way of what you were talking about with witnessing.
Yes, I think it's the same thing.
The microphone, please.
So mentoring's what you were talking about when you were talking about witnessing.
Yes. Which brings a new element into the picture regarding witnessing. Because one could say that witnessing was simply the recounting of what is true, but mentoring involves in its definition the element of actual caring. One can witness to the truth like an expression of a laundry list, which can be quite impersonal and uninvolved, and not bring into play the conscious act of caring. And so that is one of the reasons I'm using the word mentor.
And the mentor is an ongoing or long-term relationship.
Humanly speaking, that is correct. And ultimately speaking, it's a forever way of being together.
Brilliant use of symbolism.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But I am not bound by it, and 3 weeks from now I may well use something else even more triggering. Yes.
So you don't cling to the old rugged cross.
You are quite correct.
Raj, not too long ago, I had an experience, 2 of them, just like you talked about. And my day started out, I invited the Holy Spirit to be with me during my day. And I had 2 experiences just like you're talking about. And it was incredible. And my whole day was like that. But I started by inviting the Holy Spirit to be with me that day. And it was just like what you're talking about. People stopped in their tracks and for a moment were transformed, and I know that. And I felt great doing it.
Indeed.
And they did. So I know what you're saying. I experienced that.
You end up spontaneously engaged in random acts of kindness, unpremeditated acts of kindness. What a wonderful thing
It was
to be engaged in.
It was, and it was like we experienced something real. That's how I can describe
Exactly.
it. It felt real, and it was wonderful. And it's a great. I wish I could be that every moment.
Well, just gently persist. Gently persist. Okay. I thank you for being with me.
Thank you.